Hello, I'm Gemma Bodinetz. I'm the Artistic Director of the Everyman and Playhouse theatres. And basically that means I'm the artistic boss, which means I choose what shows we put on, who directs them. Sometimes I direct them myself, but not in this case. Who the designers are, which theatre they go into, what our posters look like. Anything vaguely artistic, ultimately that decision stops with me. I came to these theatres as artistic director in 2003. Up until then, I had been a freelance director and I had directed shows for other theatres. I directed shows at the Royal Court in London, the RSC, the National, all the big theatres around the country. These are the first buildings I've been in charge of, and I run two theatres. There's the Playhouse Theatre, which is a big Victorian theatre, and there's the Everyman, where this production of King Lear is on, which is a 400-seat theatre that was once a chapel, but in 1964 was turned into the theatre that this production is happening in. I think this is one of the most exciting productions these theatres have ever been involved in, both in my time and before me. I think previous artistic directors would have been just as excited as I am. Pete is an integral part of the Everyman's history, and he's also performed at the Playhouse with Rupert actually directing him in a fantastic production called Scaramouche Jones. But Pete's relationship with this city is really with the Everyman. In the 1970s, the early 1970s, from I think 1970 to 1975, there was a very fantastic artistic director called Alan Dosser. And he had an extraordinary company of actors, many of whom have gone on to be stratospherically famous. Julie Walters, Matthew Kelly, Sir Anthony Sher, writers like Willie Russell, Alan Bleasdale, really and truly too many names to mention. And Pete was part of that company, and I don't think many theatres in the world could claim such an illustrious history and such illustrious actors to have been part of that history. What was all the more remarkable, is that it's actually quite a humble theatre, the building itself. And that group of actors at that time and those writers took those plays out into the community, sometimes in the back of a van. They perform in pubs. Alan Dosser famously used to take some of the actors, Alison Steadman talks about this, to factories to meet the workers in the factories so that they got to understand Liverpool. Pete was and is one of the world's most extraordinary actors. And King Lear is, maybe some would say, the greatest role written in the English language for a great actor. And to have him come back to that humble space with this incredible company, because let us not forget, it's not just Pete's show. There is an extraordinary cast of actors that surrounds him. Directed by, I think, what many people now consider to be maybe the greatest director of his generation, Rupert Gould, who's worked with Headlong, who's Macbeth, many productions, Paradise Lost, have been groundbreaking, stunning productions, that they come back in this, the European capital of culture, to this humble theatre, is historic and a very beautiful thing. And I think that audiences, I'm going to sound like the age I am, but I'm a big Tom Waits fan, but it could be Frank Sinatra, it could be Oasis, it could be, I don't know, I'm too old. It could be Franz Ferdinand, but it's like seeing your favourite huge artist, musician that you'd normally see in a stadium playing in the bar that they first played in an intimate surrounding. And if I could see Tom Waits in a New York bar, I would so much more prefer that than to see him in a massive stadium in a massive anonymous place. And that he has a relationship with this theatre. The auditorium you will see surrounds the piece. As an audience, you are in there. It's electric. It's humble and special as a theatre. I know very few auditoriums that have that experience, can give you that experience. And on top of all of that, Liverpool is standing up and being counted as the European capital of culture. And this city, like the Everyman, has had its troubles and strifes, economic depression, and yet it's come through it all, as it always does, with its head held high, offering many cultural delights. But Liverpool is very proud to have King Lear at the Everyman with one of its greatest alumni, directed by one of the greatest young directors of our time. And I don't suppose an artistic director can get prouder than any of those cocktail ingredients.